I had the pleasure of knowing Brian Pohanka. He gave me a tour of the Battle of Monocacy when I was in grad school, and I saw Brian in action at a number of historic sites when he was doing living history. I'm familiar with his work, and the thing that impressed me the most about Brian is that he was at heart a public intellectual. He valued the importance of making history accessible to a wide range of people. And so when the internship program at the National Park Service came together with Gettysburg College and the Civil War Institute, it made perfect sense that we would also form a partnership with the Pohanka Foundation and that we would support our students as they spend the summer working at Civil War battlefields. So I'm extraordinarily pleased and gratified that we can honor Brian in this way, because this really speaks to what Brian believed was absolutely essential, and that is to have young people, energetic, smart, committed to being stewards of our historical landscapes. We have legions now of students who are learning about the importance of interpretation, and they are also gaining, I think, invaluable knowledge about historic preservation. And so we are very pleased and again very honored to have the Pohanka Fellowships connected to Gettysburg College and the Civil War Institute.
This summer I was given the honor of being one of the first Pohanka Fellows, and that fellowship gave me the opportunity to intern at Fredericksburg and Spotsylvania National Military Park. Not only was I able to learn so much about being a historian, being a public historian and working with the public at these historic sites, but I was also given the opportunity to learn this summer a lot about historic preservation and what exactly that means. And I see the importance of this work, the value that people like Mr. Pohanka put into this, and I want that to be the legacy that historians leave. And it's become very important to me. I've become very passionate about historic preservation throughout my experiences this summer, and that is thanks to the Pohanka Fellowships.
I had the privilege of being a Pohanka Fellow this past summer, which allowed me to do an internship with the National Park Service in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And it was really an incredible opportunity and spoke volumes about what Brian Pohanka wanted to leave as his legacy. One of the things that I think he really felt important and was even crucial was to keep stories alive. And I think he talks about a quote from Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, who says that it is the loving who keep their dead back from death. And I really felt like I had the opportunity to do that this summer, especially one particular instance stands out when I was out on the sunken road on the Fredericksburg battlefield. A gentleman walked up to me. There was no one else around at that time. A gentleman walked up to me, and he had lived in Fredericksburg, right on the development that now obscures the plain in front of Marie's Heights. He had lived there for his entire life, and he was probably in his 60s, and he had never actually heard the story of what happened there. He asked me if something with the Civil War had occurred here, and I thought that was a pretty profound opportunity, because I was able to share for the first time for this gentleman the stories of the men who had fought there at Fredericksburg. And I think it showed that as long as there was someone there to tell a story, people are willing to listen. And I was able to share the stories of these men who endured a horrific event at the Battle of Fredericksburg, and yet these people were committed to ideas and to beliefs that they valued more than their physical comfort, and even more than life itself if need be. And that was a pretty powerful thing to share, that these men standing where we were standing endured what they did for the sake of their ideals, which is another reason I think Mr. Pohanka values telling the stories of these men, is that they really have a lot to offer the present day in what they can teach us about what we ought to value and what we ought to do in pursuit of those values and in defense of them. So that was a very powerful moment for me.
The most rewarding part of my summer was helping visitors with their ancestral questions. They would come to me with questions about a regiment or a person in that regiment that might have been their great-grandfather, their great-granduncle, somebody that was in their family. And for me to be able to help them out with their questions was very rewarding for me, very important. It made the work that I did valuable to myself, but also to the park and to those visitors. We should never forget our place in history, but also in the scheme of life. And I think that my experiences this summer really helped bring that to life for me. That was kind of the theme of my summer, was that what we do matters as historians, but also as people and as human beings. We're able to share a common story. We are able to help each other engage with that story. And we can also bring the past to life, even for just people's ancestors, people's families. But that is still very important and that matters. In particular, I had a couple come in from New York, and they had some ancestors who were from a New York regiment. And they were actually in the same regiment, which was kind of accidental, coincidental. And they were so interested, they were so intrigued by what I could tell them, and they were very curious. And they made sure that their daughters would know, their granddaughters. They told me, they made sure they will know. And we're going to be proud of this, and it will be something that we will never forget. And for me to be able to help them with that in any way possible was so rewarding.
There was, in Brian's estimation, not a finer classroom than our Civil War battlefields. And Brian also knew that for those battlefields to come alive, for their lessons to be conveyed to the American people, that you had to have a core group of young, passionate, committed historians. We have that at Gettysburg College. Civil War Institute at Gettysburg College has helped facilitate this program, a program that this year interviewed 37 students for roughly 15 intern positions across the Mid-Atlantic. I am very pleased and I'm very honored that those students who will be going into this program, they'll be called Pohanka Fellows. And every day they will be upholding the legacy of Brian Pohanka, who was, without a doubt, one of the finest public intellectuals we've had in Civil War history.